right, guys, just one note about when you're tightening these cable clips. A good idea is not, I would say, don't crank it, you know, down here at the base of the handle here for all you got, because that can over tighten it and squash your cable a little bit too much. So what I would suggest is when you put this on, you got to kind of feel it out a bit, but a good rule of thumb is to put your hand here at the near the head, not the base of the handle, and kind of do it up so that it's pretty tight, maybe not as tight as you can go, but fairly tight, and then just kind of use your judgment at that point. Don't just go out to the end here and just, you know, crank it for, you know, all you got. Okay, so here's my braking system. This is just a spiral ground anchor with a loop on it. I got it on Amazon for about 10 bucks. It's about 10 inches deep. You don't need it that deep, trust me. I just went overkill. There's just a little clip. It could be a carabiner as well. It doesn't really matter. I got this from my weight room. And then this is a bungee cord. And it's about 12 feet or so, maybe even 15 feet. And then it's just attached onto the Zipline itself with a carabiner. Now you can get a block, you can buy something in a kit, you can make it yourself, like a piece of wood or something like that would be a brake, but I just used the, just a carabiner does the job as well as anything. All right, guys, one final note before we leave my tree platform here. If you do not have that extra cable that I was telling you about, I have an extra 50 feet, that is not necessary. What you can do is you can just attach a piece of rope to the end of the cable by getting one more of those cable clips and just making a loop from the cable itself and then tying a rope to that loop, and you can have someone else pull to try to make it as tight as possible. All right, just like I said, my family pulled the actual cable. The other thing is, the ideal scenario, which I don't recommend because it's a waste of money, but you know, whatever, to each his own. You can get a cable tensioner, and you can buy those at some of the Zipline suppliers, and they work wonders, and you don't need to use your family. This is just a one-person job, but it's a tool that costs, you know, 100 bucks, give or take, and you'll probably use it once in your life. So it's kind of one of these things where you're like, really, do I really need it? So I just told you the poor man's way of getting away with it. You just get your family to pull, and it's still not as good as a tensioner, but I wasn't willing to drop another 100 bucks for something that'll just sit in my shed for the next 50 years. All right, guys, we're almost done. Thanks for hanging in there. A couple of notes about the speed of descent. If you're going a little too fast, most people want to go fast, but there might be a reason why you want to slow down. If you do, then you can do a couple of different things. It's kind of important to know. One of them is to increase the sag of the line, of the Zipline cable, and so it's just not as tight. So you just would loosen off your turnbuckle a little bit, and that will definitely help slow it down. The other thing is you can change your angle of descent, right? So you would start, the starting point would be a bit lower, for example. All right, that's obvious. You can figure that out. The other thing is that you can buy a trolley that actually has a built-in brake. So you can just apply it with your hands. So your hands are actually holding on to the trolley, which is attached to the Zipline itself, and then you just kind of squeeze it, and it'll stop. So there's different ways you can deal with that problem if it's a problem. Of course, to make it go faster, you would just do exactly the opposite. Make less sag and increase the angle of descent. And the very last thing that I can think of right now regarding your installation is you want to test it, right? But how do you test it? Well, if you are just a couple of feet from the ground and you're just doing this in your backyard, it's no big deal. You test it by just sitting on it and testing it. But if there's like a big ravine or you're going across a river or something, there are different ways you can do it with like a heavy tire or sandbags. I know it's a little bit awkward to do that, but it could actually cost you your life, or it could be worth your life, right? Or at least an injury. So I just got to throw that out there, that you want to probably test it first before you say, hey, come on, kids, pile on. All right. Okay, and one last thing for now that I can think of that I just got to throw out at you guys. You can probably figure this out yourself, but I feel like I need to say this is testing. Obviously, you'll know you want to test the line before you send your kids out on it, but it's pretty simple. If your zip line is just a few feet above the ground and you're in your backyard, you just sit on whatever or just kind of pull on it, and that'll be fine. But if it's going over like a ravine or a river or something like that, obviously you'll want to test that with something. The best things, probably just a really heavy pack, like a loaded backpack or a sandbag or a heavy car tire, maybe with some extra weight. Those are just some ideas. I know you can probably figure that out, but I just thought I'd throw that out at you. Make sure you test it first. Guys, as we're finishing up here, I really appreciate you hanging in there as long as you did. Kudos to you. Appreciate that. So guys, just a recap of some of the tools that you'll need. Measuring tape will be one for the distance of your starting point and your end point from the ground. A ladder to get there would probably be a good idea. A socket set is helpful, right? So you'll need something like that, or an adjustable wrench at least. And work gloves would be a smart thing. And then something like a steel rod or a really big chunky screwdriver to tighten the turnbuckle. So really, that's everything in a nutshell. I probably forgot something. There's just so much to know. It can get very, very complicated to install a zip line. I've tried to make it simple in my explanation, and hopefully that will help you in some way. And anyway, I enjoy doing these videos. I appreciate you hanging in there, and just thanks for watching, guys. Have an excellent day, and we will hopefully see you very soon. Take care, guys.